everybody. Okay, so this week I have a couple card making videos coming up for you, but each card making video is definitely going to have a little bit of a tutorial that can be used for anything. So make sure that you watch them, even if you don't make cards, because we're going to be doing some fun stuff with products, and I'm going to be doing some tutorials. So today we are going to work with tea dyeing. So I'm going to tea dye some tags today, and you can tea dye tags too, and you can use them on scrapbook layouts, or I'm going to use them to make cards. I have 3 tags here. I die cut them with metal die cuts from Catherine Pooler, her layered tag die cuts. And then the paper I used was Vicki Bouton's Foundations paper. You need something really, really thick. You need something that you don't have to gesso for sure, because you need the tea to soak into these tags, right? I have a paper towel here so that when I'm done soaking my tags, pick them up, put them on the paper towel, set them aside, let them dry completely. Then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna show you how to make a card with one of them. But I'm going to make 3 cards with all 3 of them, so you can see the other 2 cards on the Wild Whisper blog today. The tea. Any tea will work. Any tea will be fabulous. This particular tea is spiced plum tea. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit on the tea. So, thing number 1 about this tea, I use full tea. So this is loose tea. We have a local tea shop just down the street from me. So this is something I can easily get a hold of. But if you can't, then by all means, just use regular brown tea. I chose this tea because it's going to dye everything pink, which I think is fabulous. I also chose this tea because it smells so good. And that way, when our tags are done and our tags are dry, our tags and our card will smell so good. Regular tea is great. So you need a small pan, fill it with water, fill it a little with water, not a lot. I have it about 1 inch up. Let the water boil. Put your tea in. I get these if you are using loose tea as well. These little fabric tea bags are from Amazon. Super cheap. They're like, I don't know, $5 for 500 or some crazy price. And then you leave it sit. And you're going to leave it sit for quite a while, 10-15 minutes. Maybe even longer, until like this isn't even hot anymore. I started it at boiling. It's not even hot anymore. It's just like slightly warm. Okay? And then we're going to just very simply put our tags into our tea. And then we're going to leave them there. I know it's scary, but trust me, it's all good. You're going to leave them in there until this is this is going to dye these tags a light pink. It's not going to dye them a dark pink. It's going to dye them a very light, but still fabulous pink. It's fairly cool. Can push the tea bag down, and this is why I said just leave it sit, because you can let this sit for a while, especially if you're using a nice like hot, and you can see like the little teas coming out of the bag, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Just keep picking up your paper. When it starts to really feel mushy, that's when you want to get it out of there, right? Then it has given its all, it has soaked up all the pink, but you can kind of see the pink there. Right? So we're going to let that aside. I'm going to let that soak for a while. 5 minutes. When I say a while, I mean a while for paper in water. Every so often just check them, and as soon as they really start to feel like they're waterlogged, they've taken in all the water. They've taken in all they can take in. That's when you want to pull them out. But before that, just let them go. If you're using thinner paper, You probably shouldn't let them soak this long, number one. If you are using thinner paper, don't let them soak this long. If you're using thinner paper, I would also go with a regular tea. So I would go with a brown tea, like just a regular tea, not a tea like this. Okay? But you can kind of see here, it'll even stain your paper towel a little bit. But we're gonna let this sit. Since this is herb tea, and I wanna get the tea soaked into the water, into the tags, because one, really want these tags to smell good. Number two, I want to get them as pink as I can possibly get them. And even then, it's gonna be subtle. I'm warning you now. It's not gonna look super pink, but it's still a lovely thing to try. So once I started to take the tags out of the tea and dry them off, I realized that I needed more color. So they did dye, but they were so light that I was afraid I would dry them off and make cards with them, and you guys would all look at me like I was crazy because you couldn't even tell that they were dyed at all. So what I did was I went downstairs and I got just a regular brown tea bag, and I'm just dipping it into the water and then kind of letting it, and then putting it right over the tags on all the paper towels that I had. So at one point the tea bag broke, and I was okay with it because it's gonna add these cool little like dots, polka dots, or not polka dots, but texture. It's gonna show up. So it wasn't a failure, but I thought for this particular scrapbooking video, maybe I better get them a little bit darker. So I have them off to the side. I put the tea on them. I just let them sit right there. And I pulled together the supplies I want to use for my cards. So a lot of these I don't end up using. I end up using the splotch stamp for sure. I end up using this craft cardstock as my card bases, and I end up fussy cutting all 4 of those flower clusters and using them, and then I do end up using both of these papers. So those are the products. The papers are from Nicole Wright's mixed media assemblage. And then the flowers are from the newest floral ones. You can see how the tags turned out. They do have a little bit of pink on them, but it's not, it was so subtle. I wanted to add a little bit more color before I started playing with them and creating with them. Before I started, I went ahead and I just cut my card bases. I cut panels for my cards, and then I'm gonna use this splotch stamp with some ground espresso ink, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the stamp around, and I'm going to get different looks with that splotch stamp on top of the tags. It's just gonna add a little bit more texture, interest, and it perfectly matches the pattern papers that I chose, because the pattern papers have those splotches on them as well. This is one of my favorite stamps from Wild Whisper. I just love this. It's so amazing. It is like perfect, awesome coffee rings mixed media. It's nice and chunky, and big, so you can use it for scrapbook pages or cards, and it's so cool. It's like a go-to. I love it. Okay. So I'm just getting a really good impression there. Make sure my ink is nice and dark so it really pops off of the tea stained background. And then I'm just going to set this aside. So in the end, I ended up making 4 cards from these tags. So I had 3 tags, and then I made a 4th card so that I didn't waste the fussy cut flower. I'm only going to show you the process of the first card, and then if you'd like to see the processes for the rest of the cards, you can find them on the Wild Whisper blog, which I will link below. But I used all of the same products for all 4 of the cards, so you'll see a lot of my process in it. when you look at the other 3 cards, I did the same types of things. I added some twine to the top of that tag, and now I want to color these fussy cut floral pieces in. So I have peeled paint, Victorian Velvet, and Milled Lavender Distress Oxide inks. I am using the tiniest brushes in my Life Changing Brushes collection from Picket Fence Studios. I'm using the tiny ones, and then I'm just going to color in these flowers. So I'm not coloring them super picky. I'm just really adding the darker color, which is the Victorian Velvet, to the middle of the flowers. And then I'm going in with the Milled Lavender and kind of blending it out. So that way the flowers have a little bit of depth and dimension. This flower turned out way darker than the other ones. I'm not sure what the difference was really, but when they were all finished, this one had the most color, so maybe I just added the most ink to this one. Maybe I was trying to rush through the other ones. I don't remember. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of color. This also, fussy cutting these flowers, these black and white flowers, and then adding color like this, this would be a really great way to color some stamped images. It would be a really great way to color in some floral images that you might have fussy cut from a sheet of paper. It's a really easy way to get color on. So if you wanted to do this with stamps, you could stamp a flower, fussy cut it, and then take those teeny tiny little life-changing brushes and add some color and dimension to the floral pieces. And that would be a really easy way to get some color without needing alcohol markers or Copics or anything like that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I want to add these little tags, the twine. This is hemp twine. It is from A Cherry on Top. I love it because it's super duper neutral. It looks really nice with just about everything. And it's a great way to do tags. If you are interested in a die set of tags, these are Catherine Pooler dies that I'm using. Okay, so I'm going to keep this really simple. I'm going to put this flower down, I'm going to glue it down to the page, and then I'm going to add some glossy accents so that the end images are really shiny and dimensional and cute. And that's how I created all 4 of these cards. So once I had the Nouveau Draw, or once I had the flowers glued to the card, I just went over the entire flower sprig with some glossy accents and set them all aside to dry. I think these turned out to be a really cute, calm, like they're understated but kind of grungy but kind of fun, and I love them. I think they turned out really good and really sweet to send out for almost any occasion. You could just stamp your sentiment on the inside and you are good to go. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to head over to the Wild Whisper blog so that you can have an up-close look at the rest of the cards I created. And I hope that you will give tea staining a try. I think this turned out so fun and so cute. It was an experiment, but in the end, I really love how the cards turned out. Have a fabulous day, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.